We are excited. Jean-Philippe and I, we are here as usual, Monday, Tuesday for the podcast. And as you know, we are covering the book Super Communicator. It's a great book about communication. And today we are starting a new chapter. And frankly, this is one of the most applicable for our MLM reality because this chapter is not just talking about diversity or inclusion. It's about creating a psychological climate where difficult conversation become possible. Okay, so as you remember, though we are in the conversation, who are we, and we are going to continue on that subject. In our line of work, we constantly have difficult conversation. Sometimes we have to have conversation when we are recruiting, when we are giving feedback to someone, when we have to manage conflict, when we are supporting someone who wants to leave, when we want to help people who's doubting themselves. So we always have to make sure that we have the right tool because we have to be a good communicator.
Yes, absolutely. And today, actually, it's really an introduction of that chapter. So there's like a couple of concepts that we will bring you that will probably work like deeper, okay, in the next podcast because it's very complex. That those concepts are not necessarily easy because it's really about like the identity and as we've seen, okay, the way that people can interpret our action and our feedback is really like to be taken care of. So the authors, Charles Duhigg, tells us a story in the book. It's always like that in every chapter. And this is a story about Netflix, okay? And it's about a senior executive that actually use unacceptable word in a meeting. So as we will see, we will share that story throughout the book. And the story shows like that the candor without safety can be actually destructive in a work environment. So we want to learn what is our role as leader. How can we be sure that we have like the right answer at the right moment in the right environment. So our job really is to create environment where people will feel safe. And this is really what we will work on. But before we dive into our subject, I want to share with you the story from the book that is about the Netflix company that we all know today. So Netflix in 2018, okay, was probably at its peak. Okay, they had like 124 million subscriber, but the work environment has a really specific culture. Okay, this is a place where people want to work because they had what they call a total freedom, an unlimited vacation, and actually there were no rules. So it may sound weird, but let me explain. Okay, above all the rule of no rule existing, there was one rule, okay, which was called silent disagreement is unacceptable, which means that if you disagree, you have to say it, even if it was with the CEO. Okay, so the culture attracted the best talent. Okay, but it had a dark side. Okay, some employees said like it gave permission to feel like they were kind of savage with others. Okay. And even some employees said that someday I cry for an hours because people had to tell everything. They cannot keep something silent. If they disagree, they just tell it without thinking of the way that they were saying it. And one day, Jonathan Friedland, okay, who was the head of communication in a meeting, okay, used the N word, okay, talking about the African American population, okay. So use the N word in a meeting to illustrate how hurtful, okay, other word was, talking about a show that was about to be published on the Netflix. So in that meeting, when that event happened, it was total silence, shock. And they say that following that meeting, kind of a civil war happened inside the company. And despite his apologies, despite his effort like to make amends, he was fired and the company plunged into like what they call a big moment of confusion.
Yes, and people ask why. It's because the culture of, radical candor collapsed. People no longer felt safe because you cannot you can the rules say you can what is the rule? It said the rule, you can say silent disagreement is unacceptable. Okay, so, and the rule is you can say anything, but you cannot say anything because it create damage for everyone. So people no longer felt safe. Okay, and this is where it speaks to us because we might be tempted in our team to say, okay, with us, we say everything. We are honest. But sometimes we don't like people like that. I'm maybe someone who say everything that what is thinking, and it's not good. You need a filter, okay? So if the filter is back order, maybe you have to place an order on Amazon. Okay, you need a filter. Okay, because you cannot say anything, and when you say that, people don't feel safe. Okay, and sometimes they don't want to hear everything. Okay, they have to protect themselves. So, um, he said another thing. He said that there are studies that there's a lot of company, they have a diversity program. So let's say to protect the of course the right of people, but sometimes they are going to on certain level of competency. If they have the same, they can hire someone from the
Visible minorities.
yes, visible minority or sexual minority or something like this. So they have those kind of program, and in the book they say that diversity, sometimes they make training. Okay, so they say, okay, we are going to talk about the inequity, and we are going to have a training today between 12 and 3 p.m. So you are invited for those kind of training. So those kind of training are well intentioned, okay? But he said often that have the opposite effects, okay? It fails. He said 76% of program have an uncertain impact. Sometimes they think they make the things more worse because by talking about stereotype,
Stereotype.
we make them more present in people's mind. So people, because we are mentioning it and we are explaining it, so now when you are conscious about that, you are always have this present in your mind. Okay, and why? It's because people feel judged. When they feel judged, so sometimes they shut down. So this is exactly what happened in our team. So if a consultant, let's say, make a mistake, we will tell her, you need to make more calls. Okay, so it's not something that we want to hear. Okay, because sometimes it could hurt. Okay, so you are talking about action, so you have to make more calls, you have to make more. Okay, and what she's going to hear, it's you are not good for this job. Okay, you you're not good. So she think, okay, I am a failure, so I'm going to stop this company. Okay, I'm not doing it anymore, I'm not good. So that we want to say something that, okay, you have to make more calls, and she receive it as I'm not good. Okay, so this is something, it's not of course good. The problem is no longer the behavior, the problems become the identity. And when identity is threatened, okay, the person, she's not feeling good. Okay, so Conversation become dangerous when they seem to call into questions who we are. So when we go give feedback, okay, we don't want to threaten the identity of the other person.
Yes. So we need to think of how actually we can create safer space for those conversation. Well, mostly it will be the way that the conversation is going. So the direction that you're giving, the way that you will ask your question to the person, but obviously the way that you can create those connections. Okay, so remember what we've covered in the previous podcast, which was about um, how do we feel conversation. So this is really important. So let's say that we are meeting a new recruit, okay, or you're talking about like a performance of a recruit, okay. So obviously before getting into the main subject of you should do more phone calls, you should do this, you should do that, okay, the true way to start that conversation is to get really interested into the person that you have in front of you, okay, by asking, how are the kids, how's your partner, how it's going. So that's the reason why we have many type of, let's say, interview in our business that we have developed over time. So we have like the meet and greet that is really an introduction, that that is about understanding who is that person in front of us, okay. So then when you do that, you create a connection, you show that there is a person, it's not just a consultant, it's not just a number, it's not just like number that are getting into the system. And when you create that connection, then you can get around the subject of why isn't she like recruiting, but instead of like telling her you should do more phone call, is could can we look together at what is holding you back. So by questioning them, by I didn't remember like by throwing them the balls and helping them reflect with our questions, then you can get like to the main point that is about like yes, making phone call. So the person in that situation, when you ask open and question that help them reflect and that you get interested, they stay open, they don't feel attacked, they feel supported, okay. And this is exactly what we want to do. It's to create a safe space where the person will feel that she can be vulnerable, and also being vulnerable without being judged, okay. So that's our role as leader. It's not to have the right answer and tell them right away, but it's to create an environment where we will be able to tell them, where she feel safe to space and really actually get things out of her mind and really share what she actually thinks.
Yes, and Jean-Philippe, Netflix has this interesting rule: silent disagreement is unacceptable.
Yes, and that, as you said, like when you look at it, it's something that is very interesting. Okay, but in a team, yes, we must be able like to disagree with other people, but there is a danger.
Which one?
Okay, so if we only encourage like candor, okay, without developing trust, it can help hurting people. And this is what has happened at Netflix. They say everything that is going through their mind, okay, but that culture hurt people. And when Freeland, okay, that made that mistake, that wasn't there, like there wasn't enough trust for the conversation to be reparative. So even if he like asked forgiveness and like he gave apologies like throughout email and all of that, unfortunately, the trust wasn't there. So in our MLM, we can say, okay, with us, we can disagree with each other, okay, but you need to add, okay, and I will continue to respect you. So even like we say in English, like I don't know, but in French we say tous les chemins mènent à Rome. So like all roads are getting to
Leading to
Rome,
Rome.
leading to Rome. Yes, so all roads are leading to Rome. So we must understand that in a business there's different way of developing that business. Yes, there is like successful formula, but there's always place like for improvement, for amelioration, for like new way of doing. So even if right now we are not agreeing on that things, we respect each other. Like I don't put you in a box and say that, oh, you don't want to do like me, so we cannot like talk to each others. Okay, so it's really really important to understand that yes, you can disagree and continue to respect each other. Okay, so you can be yourself even if you don't agree with me. So that's the difference between a team that stays quiet and a team that speaks up, but speaks in a way that they build trust together so they can actually grow together. So in like that Netflix stories, one question divide the company is, should like Friedland, okay, that has been fired, okay, he has been fired for a mistakes. Okay, so someone said, oh, he has to go, and someone says like he apologized. We need to allow him to learn. So it's really like a different situation, especially when it's about like identity and subject that are really hard like in our society. So what do we do?
Yeah, and sometimes we see it, Jean-Philippe, in our let's say in our business. Someone, let's say something, and he doesn't do it. Okay, so we cannot say, oh, okay, we cannot rely on him. Okay, um, let's say we give you a task, and you that day you not did not deliver as usual as you are. You know, usually you're so good, and you don't deliver as good. So we are not going to say, okay, we that person is unreliable. So we have to say, okay, sometimes, you know it could be a bad day. Sometimes you can make mistakes, and it's okay. Okay, it's part of what happening. And sometimes we have to say, no, no, that's not going to define his whole career. So let's say you are here with us since 11 years.
Yes, I will celebrate 11 year this October.
Okay, so in October, and let's say something doesn't go well, so we're not going to say, okay, I cannot rely on Jean-Philippe, okay, because he's always delivering. He's always I can always count on him. And one mistake should not become the person identity. So this chapter remind us something essential. So a mistake doesn't define who we are, but it's a huge leadership lesson. Okay, so we can learn from our mistake, and we can, let's say, improve from that. And yes, you can tell me that you I dropped the ball this time. Okay, and but you are going to say it in a way that I know that I can trust you. I know that, okay, we have a relationship, and it doesn't have to finish that relationship. Okay, so the real question. So if we summarize what we take away from this chapter, so we're gonna give some five lessons. And okay, number one, psychological safety is more important than candor. A person who feels judged defends themselves. A person who feels understood reflects. So, of course, we cannot say everything. Okay, it's not the like the Netflix culture. And we didn't talk about all the fights happening in Netflix, because people write anything that it's in your mind, and you have to deal, is it true? Okay, so it's a lot of work just receiving all those information. Okay, so you need the filter. Okay, no back order it. Number two, less feedback is often taken as an attack on identity. We're not just talking about action; we are talking about who we are. So, if you said to that person that you have to make more calls, so she's going to receive it as you're not good, you are a mistake. Okay, so we have to make sure that, okay, when you do feedback, make sure that you do with a sandwich. Okay, something good, something that you have to improve, something good. Okay, always in a sandwich. And lesson number three, Our role as a leader is to create a safe space, not to have the right answer. So we have to make sure that we are going to work with the people and they are in a safe space. We are going to respect. And if I have to say something, I'm going to respect you. Again, even if you make a mistake. So I love you. I love my people.
Yes. Lesson number 4, allow disagreements, but with respect. So candor without trust hurts people. So it need like people needs to feel that they can express themselves when you create that space, okay? But even if on some element you disagree with them, that you respect each other and that you have an understanding and you have a curiosity and not always like trying to trap them, okay? But if they feel that they are respected, if they feel that they can express themselves in a safer space, obviously it will allow this agreement, and those are things that you can work on and actually track in the future. So this is something that we often do, like when we want to develop new ways of doing the business. And lesson number 5, a mistake doesn't define a person. Give them a chance to learn. Okay. And remember, if you place them in a situation, in a space where they feel safe, obviously they will understand that they are not categorized as their mistake, but they are in an environment where they can develop themselves, learn, and do something else after. So we really want to help you like to understand that disagreement is normal, but there is a way of expressing yourself. As Sylvain said, there is a filter that we need to develop. So this is what we want to do with our team. So we're not trying just to convince people. We try to understand where they are and where is that environment that we create that they can feel space. Because when they feel understood, they will become more open to ideas.
Yes. So this week, if you have difficult conversation, ask yourself the questions: does this person in front of me feel safe enough to be honest? Okay. So you have to make sure that you develop that connection that she can express herself. Okay. And when they feel judged, they are going to defend themselves. And when they feel understood, they are going to reflect. So it's only the part of the reflex um, that they can change the situation and decide to do something else. So thank you everyone for listening, and we are going to see you tomorrow morning for the continuation of the story. Okay, bye for now.